How much money do you actually need to start as a solar dealer in 2024? Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Ivan, and on this video we're going to talk about how much money you would actually need if you want to start your very own remote solar sales business. Even if you don't want to build a team, if you just want to sell solo, we're going to talk about lead cost, CPAs, how does it differentiate from doing it on the doors. For example, if you're used to door knocking and now trying to transition into the phone side or the virtual side, we're going to talk about real numbers, because we've had one of the most successful marketing agencies in solar, and that was our bread and butter, pretty much delivering leads to clients. So we pretty much seen it all. So in this video, I'm going to do a short breakdown and tell you what's normal, what's abnormal, what your expectations need to be when you're starting out your very own solar business, because a lot of people wouldn't tell you these things, and I want to talk numbers on this video. So without further ado, let's get right in. So first of all, you got to understand the difference between door to door and doing it remotely. These are very, very different things. Very different things. Not just because of the effort, but because the way you're building trust with people is also going to be different, which will go into play when we further start to talk about, show up rates and so on and so forth, one versus the other. Again, very different things. Two of them could be successful, but obviously for the sake of this video, we're talking about how to be successful in the remote world. I've never really been involved in the door knocking space, so I wouldn't be able to tell you too much about that. But I can tell you about the remote world because that's my forte. So door to door as a method of acquiring leads is very time consuming, and it's not easy at all. For some people it might be because they've been doing it for so long, and now it's their second nature. They feel okay banging on over 100 doors 4 to 5, 6 days a week. But for the majority of people, especially starting out in the industry, which is, I would say, the majority of my audience, that's not going to be okay. And I wouldn't blame me for that, because I would not want to be at the doors either. So as an activity of acquiring leads, when you're at the doors, you're required to, first of all, waste a bunch of time. Okay, so that's your sweat equity right there. You're not wasting any money, but you're wasting your valuable, most precious commodity, which is your time. Now, when you're transitioning to the remote side, you can't really knock on people's doors. So you're going to have to find an alternative to do the same thing as you're doing at the door. You really have two options. Well, three really. One of them is completely cold calling yourself, which is, again, requires a lot of sweat equity. So now that method could be really good for you if you don't really have a lot of money to start. And by a lot of money, I mean around $5,000 to $10,000. The second method that you could deploy to generate leads for your business is Facebook ads. And it could be Facebook ads, YouTube ads, TikTok ads, whatever. But I've found that the easiest ads to work that produce the most for the least amount of effort are Facebook ads, to be quite frank with you. And these are pretty spot on when it comes down to nailing the target audience, as long as you have the right messaging. But I have a video about that you can watch on my channel, probably several videos about launching ads, how to differentiate yourself from everybody else that's pretty much running the same similar solar type of ad, so on and so forth. But that's for another video. The third method is what we have coming up, which is the most exciting project that I've ever been involved in my life, called the Solar Boss AI. And the Solar Boss AI would allow you to pull data from the same tool. So it'll be a tool that would allow you to pull data, so you no longer have to go and look for mediocre sites to get data and ask this person and that person if they tried the website, if it works, if it doesn't work, and try the data and so on and so forth. You'll be able to pull your own data, and within the same tool, you'll have your very own AI call center. And instead of you calling, it will be AI doing all the calling for you, which is absolutely insane. And I can't wait for you to get your hands on that. And not only that, I'm telling you, this tool will revolutionize the solar industry and the way we generate leads as we know it. So those are really your three options. You don't really have any other options. One of the three, which is the cold calling, would require a lot more of your sweat equity. The third method, which is the tool, which we've been working so hard to put out so all of you guys can use it, pretty much can do all the work for you for a chump change. And Facebook ads could end up being expensive if you don't know what you're doing. But for the most part, if you put out the right messaging, you know how to target the right audience, Facebook will do all the work for you, and you have nothing to worry about. You can wake up to new leads popping up in your CRM every single day like clockwork, which we have done for many years for us and for a lot of our clients. Now let's talk about lead cost in a CPA. A lot of people that don't really understand the game, they like to talk about lead cost, and they're very concerned about what's my cost per lead and what's my cost per appointment. What matters the most is the CPA, which is the cost per acquisition. And if you don't know what that means what is your cost to acquire one sale? One sale can equal anywhere between $5,000 to about $12,000 in profit. If you have to spend $1,000 to $1,500 to acquire one sale to make, let's say, $6,000, that's more than tripling the money that you put in to acquire that sale. So it's literally printing money on steroids, which is what I call it. But a lot of people, when I tell them it might cost you $1,500, or your first few sales might even run you up to $2,000 per sale. I don't know, but that's for the next point. On Facebook, a good lead cost is anywhere between $15 to $30. This is still okay. If it goes beyond, I would say, I'm not saying I'm gonna cut it after $30 per lead. I'm just saying that if it goes beyond $45 or $50 a lead, I will start to maybe even reconsider where I'm selling. And that's something I want to point your attention to, is that your cost per lead, outside of how you build out your campaign, things like that, if you're running ads on Facebook, it's gonna come down to the area that you're targeting. If you just target a few zip codes or a few cities instead of a whole state, then it's going to run you a lot more than if you were to target the entire state, for example. And sometimes even the state itself might be expensive for you to run ads in, so maybe you could focus on another state. And that's why I enjoy so much the remote dealer models, because you can pick and choose the states you want to sell in. You don't have to be selling in one individual state. You don't have to sell in a few cities. You have the freedom to now choose what you want to sell. And I'm telling you that if you're able to do that, sell in multiple states, and you pick and choose where you want to sell, you're going to be able to generate leads for a very, very decent cost. So your cost per lead will always be reasonable. Trust me on that. Now, why don't I really pay attention to the lead cost or cost per appointment as much as my cost per sale? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we get 20 appointments from a call center in Pakistan and all of a sudden we only close, let's say, 2 deals out of the 20. I'm just giving you a hypothetical scenario. And if those 20 appointments only cost us, let's say, $2,000, because every single appointment I paid $100 for, out of $2,000, I got 2 deals. So my CPA was only $1,000. So I know it sounds like outrageous. Out of 20 appointments, you only got to close 2. But the fact of the matter is, you got to look at the CPA also. And so all I'm trying to say is that don't get discouraged when you see an outrageous amount of leads or appointments, for example, and there's not that many closes. Because all that matters at the end of the day is your CPA. Now, once you know what your CPA really is, once you start running whatever lead generation method you wanted to deploy to start getting leads and appointments in, the next thing you want to pay attention to and look at is how do you then improve the entire process. So how do you get from $2,000 CPA to $1,000 CPA? Or even $1,500 CPA. Which is my next point. A lot of people don't really take into account that you're gonna have to have a room for error. And that's why I say, you know, $5,000 to $10,000 to figure it out, is because at first it might cost you $2,000 per sale. But then in month 3, instead of costing you $2,000, it costs you only $1,200. Why? Because even if you have no source of information, I guarantee you that if you keep the leads trickle in, if you keep the process the same, you're gonna start to see patterns. And you yourself are gonna start to figure out ways to improve the current process that you have running. And that's why I call a room for error. It's unrealistic for me to say that you're gonna start in this industry and then you're gonna have the same cost per acquisition in month 1 that you're gonna have in month 6. It's unrealistic. Even if you have absolutely no outside input whatsoever, you're gonna start noticing certain patterns in month 3 and 4 that you didn't even know about in month 1. And that's why I say it's really important to not beat yourself up and be like, why am I spending so much per sale? And why is my lead cost so much? And don't beat yourself up. Listen, there's a room for error. If you stick and stay in the industry, it is bound to pay. That's what I gotta tell you. And if you have a question for me, put it down in the comments below. If it's good, if I believe it will help some of you, I'd love to make a video on it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. And click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss any of the future uploads. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again in the next one.